This is a video about building a 20-coil body mat. It's a modular body mat, so the foot, the leg, bottom mat can be taken off and used separately with the power supply. And it's a PEMF mat, so it's pulsing magnetic fields into the body to help the body heal itself. So a little overview here of the technical specs. The power supply is providing about 10 amps of current, and we've got 20 coils here, 5 in series, and we've got 4 lots of those, 5 in parallel. So here we are winding each coil using a little winding rig I put together, and the wire is 22 AWG, and you've got to be a bit careful when you take it off the spool because it can just ping and go everywhere, in which case you're a bit stuffed. So this design is based on the work of Steve Bradet, and Steve Bradet is in Canada. He runs PEMF with Steve. Well worth looking up his work, it's amazing. He's been really kind in helping me understand the ins and outs of PEMF technology and DIY PEMF. So here's one of the coils. It's actually quite sturdy, and so there are going to be 20 of those in the mat. So here's the mat. Now I'm using just a fairly easy to obtain yoga mat, about 1 centimeter width. Actually, it's fairly tough. It's fairly tough stuff, which is great. So this is the bottom, the modular part of the mat I was just cutting out there. And so I'm going to lay out the coils, having made them. It takes about, well, probably about 7 or 8 minutes to make each coil, to wind it and then wrap it with insulation tape. So I've just measured out all of the coils here, and you can see there's a little space in the middle of the top mat, and that's going to be where the mat can bend because it's got to fit on a sofa. It's going to be used for sitting on a sofa and also in a car seat, so it's a bit thinner than the usual kind of body mat, so it can fit on the car seat. I like to embed the coils in the mat. It just makes it neater. I think it's perhaps a little bit more durable. So I'm cutting out the holes for the coils, just little rings, and so the next thing will be to solder up the coils together in the right way. There we go. Lots of cutting out. So the plan is here, I'm using a thin sort of travel yoga mat, again quite tough material, which is brilliant, to create a sandwich. So it will sandwich the coils and it will sandwich the balloon mat together. It has been a bit of a learning curve in order to figure out how to stick the mats together. I did use some spray-on contact adhesive, and that was a nightmare, so I don't recommend doing that. Then I found carpet tape, and that is much easier, much faster way of doing it. This is not the ideal way of doing it, which you can see me doing here. I've since had a little think, and there's an easier method. So you'll see a different method of attaching the carpet tape when I do the other side, because this took a rather long time, trying to fill in all the gaps on the mat, and then peel it off. So here's the mini mat, which is the legs part of the body mat. It's modular, so it can be operated individually, and so you can actually put this under your pillow and set the PEMF pulsing to be about once a second, so 1 Hertz, and that's good for deep sleep. 1 to 3 Hertz is good for deep sleep. That's delta rhythms, because the brain tends to entrain to the frequency of the magnetic field pulses. So now I'm attaching the thin yoga mat to one side, and I've missed out a little bit of tape on one of those, so I'm having to fill that in. And generally, pulsed electromagnetic field therapy operates frequencies, ultra low frequencies, or ULFs, between 1 Hertz and say 50 Hertz maybe. And there's not a lot of studies on the different frequencies, but there are a lot of studies on PEMF therapy and how it can help the body. And here you can see I'm just burning the ends of the enameled wire, burning the enamel off, and it just makes it easier then to clean the contacts so that I'm burying the copper wire. So I'm going to be soldering those together. And this little thing here is a 3D printed faceplate. And so that is made of thermoplastic, so you can heat it up and bend it, and then it will retain its shape. It's just going to go on the side there, or maybe there, or maybe there. No, I think I eventually decide to go there. And you can see that the 4 lots of 5 coils, so they're going to be connected in parallel. This next section was where I'm trying to connect the coils up, all the 4 lots of 5 in parallel. And a bit of a learning curve, as I mentioned earlier. Trying to connect 4 or 5 ends of wires together creates a big mass of metal, as you can see here. So I brought out the blowtorch to see if I can provide enough heat for that. And it's a bit of a messy job, really. So I end up aborting this and trying a different method, which was a lot more elegant. So that didn't work. And even though I try with the soldering iron is just not giving enough power there to heat up that amount of metal. Because of course the wires are conducting the heat away. And there are 4 wires there. So instead, what I'm doing is I'm connecting the wires up as they go along the conduction path, along the wire path. So you see one connection there. So instead of being 4 at one go, it's going to be separate connections. Another one there, and so on. Yeah, so there's been a lot of studies for PEMF therapy. There we go, there's the mats all sorted out. And now 3D printing. I love my 3D printer. It's absolutely fantastic, fascinating to watch how it builds things. And this is the control box. So I've 3D printed the control box. It comes in 3 parts. I've had to do a little bit of a modification on the controller unit casing to make it fit in the 3D printed box. But with that little cutout there, the faceplate of the controller box fits nicely in there. There we go. So that's the switch, you can see that's in there. There are 2 magnets in the lid of the control box, so that makes the lid snap shut nicely. And what I'm doing here is just checking the resistance of the coil combination, and it works out at about 2.1 ohms. So that's great. That's going to be delivering about 10 amps, just under 10 amps of current to the whole mat. So testing the pulse unit now, the control unit is wired up, and that magnet is pulsing at once a second. So the whole body mat is now creating a magnetic field at one pulse per second, or 1 hertz. And that's affecting the magnet I'm hanging from a string. And now the most important thing, or one of the most important things, is to make sure that each coil is oriented the correct way. So the north-south, they're all pointing the same way. And so I am doing that by placing one coil on top of another while it's pulsing. And if they're facing the wrong way, the opposite way, then they'll cancel each other out and the magnet won't move, that hanging magnet. So I like to embed the wires in the mat, so a little bit of a extra job here, but it makes it, I believe it makes it a little bit more durable. Gives the wires some room to move when the mat flexes. And so here's the foot mat, the mini mat. It's got 5 coils in it, and I've made channels for all the wires. And you see the white stuff there, that is actually talcum powder that I've painted on. It's with a solution of talcum powder. Should have actually done that afterwards because it goes everywhere. And the reason for that is, well, you'll see in a minute. So I don't want the coils to stick to the carpet tape. So talcum powder actually does a brilliant job of not sticking the coils, allowing the coils a little bit of movement if they need to move. And in previous projects, when I have stuck the coils using carpet tape, the carpet tape tends to sort of distort as the coils move, so it makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more reliable, just to let those coils settle where they want to settle. And here's the sandwiched mat with the 2 yoga mats on either side of the 1 centimeter central mat. Faceplate there, just going to heat that up. So using a little heat gun, and that should bend over nicely. There we go, very nice. So I need to attach that now to the mat, make sure it's not going to pull out. So I just use a upholstery thread and needle to do that. And just put some stitches in there, make it nice and secure. And you know, the alternative here is I could actually tape that to the mat using some tough sort of gaffer tape type of thing, and that works just as well. Yeah. So as I was saying, yeah, lots of studies on PEMF therapy, and it's been shown to help the body's cells, any kind of cell, become more effective, more efficient at what it does, in terms of transporting ions across cell membranes, particularly calcium ions, but also sodium, potassium, magnesium. And so here I'm just painting the coils with that solution of talcum powder, letting it dry. And here's looks like a kind of underground mat, doesn't it? Spaghetti junction. On goes the carpet tape, double-sided carpet tape. This is a particular type of dance that I've designed to stick it down. And there we go, both sides now stuck down, nice and flexible, nice and robust. The face plates for the main mat is in place, and for the foot mat. And that little plug at the bottom there that's going to fit into the bottom mat, you'll see just in a moment. There we go. And that's going to be held in place with Velcro. Yeah, so the human body cells become more effective, more efficient at what they do. Now those could be any kind of cells. It could be immune system cells, it could be bone cells, muscle cells, and it's been shown that it can speed up healing. It's great for circulation, improving circulation, and reducing inflammation in particular. So at this point I'm just looking at the magnetic pulse that's coming out of the mat, and I've got a little probe that we saw earlier. And that probe is a coil of wire, and it picks up the magnetic pulsing and converts it into an electrical current, which I can see on a little portable oscilloscope. And I've cranked up the frequency to 250 times a second, 250 hertz, and you can see that it's basically the same, still getting the same amount of induced current in that probe. And that's what magnetic fields are doing. They're pulsing into the body, and the key is to pulse them as fast as you can, on and off, as fast as you can, because the faster you do that, the more electrical currents you can induce, and that's called Faraday's law. It's the rate of change of the magnetic flux. That is the key. Some PEMF systems that are available on the market, they claim that they have a lovely smooth sine wave and it sounds all lovely, but actually that means that the rate of change is actually not that fast. So the little induced currents which help the cells of the body, they're not as much, they're not doing it as effectively as they could do. The controller unit that you saw earlier pulses it as a square wave, so that's on really quickly and then off really quickly. So here is what I thought was the hardest bit, which was the velvet covering, and I'm just marking out where I'm going to be stitching, and part of that is going to be Velcro so that it can be removed if needed for washing. So just cutting that out, marking it out, and my good wife helped me with the learn how to operate this amazing machine, which I still think is an absolute marvel of technology. It's quite an old one, but it is incredible. Its mechanism is just so beautiful. So okay, putting it all together, here it is, the full body mat, the modular mat. So there's our back and head, there's a foot, the mini mat, which can be detached, so the plug fits in there nicely. There we go. We can then put that under the pillow to sleep and to improve sleep. PEMFs are very good for improving sleep quality, especially if you suffer from insomnia. And I found that I actually recall my dreams more with PEMFs going on, which is rather cool. Velcro on the back there just to secure the two mats together, and here's the power supply lead that goes to the main mat. That's cool. And there's the control box, the 3D printed control box with the PWM driver in it. That's a pulse width modulator driver, the square wave generator. Nice little funky blue light there. And there we go. And there's the 9.5 or 9.3 amp power supply, which is a standard computer power supply, which is just perfect for this application. So there we are, the full body mat, modular design that also fits for a car seat. Just take the lower mat off, and there we go. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, please consider liking and subscribing, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.